We are back with the first of its kind event, and this is Facebook Live, and we're celebrating the anniversary of Harry Chapin's 75th birthday, and it is a wonderful day. And the Chapin family, they are joining us in force today, and we have the three sons of Harry Chapin, and we're so pleased to have them with us, Josh and Jason and Jono. Now, Jono, you're all alone up there in Vermont, so we want to get you on because they can talk among themselves. Tell us what you're up to these days, Jono.
I've purchased a farm property.
John?
And it's 39 acres, and I'm planning to start an organic farm. But there's an 1850s farmhouse, and so I've got some renovations that are underway, and the barns need some work over time, and they have matching barn grants up here in Vermont. And there's great potential for all sorts of aspects of raising a diversified organic vegetables and berry bushes, fruit trees, Christmas trees, et cetera, et cetera.
Sounds great. Let me ask you, was Harry, your dad, was he very handy? Did he do a lot around the house, or was it hard to get a hammer and nail in his hand?
Oh, I'd say exceptionally handy. In fact, I can remember when we were very young, each of us had a chance to work on some sort of a project, whether it was sort of Lego lot type stuff. There was a castle that was built with Josh, which is pretty phenomenal. We still have that. And then we moved on to bigger projects. There was a tree house built in the back. I mean, we made trip after trip to the lumber yard, and that tree house was featured in People magazine. It was really quite something.
So he was a hands-on guy, hands-on dad. And Josh and Jason, why don't we bring you in? 4-in-1 guy. He'd be writing a song, he'd be watching a football game, he'd be thinking and bouncing one of you, perhaps you as a youngster, on his knee, and he'd be doing something else. Is that a good way to describe him?
Yeah, definitely. He definitely was a multitasker. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, I think more than football games, my mom says it's the Knicks game. He was a big basketball guy. And we went to a lot of Islander games when we were younger too, when they were great back in the day. But yeah, always doing a number of things at once, and then also had that gift of actually making you feel like you had his attention at the same time, which I don't know how he managed to do that, but yeah, he's always multiple tasking.
And Jason, you were a little bit older. I mean, what did it feel like to you? I mean, lots of people talk about the errant nature of his scheduling and the fact that he was always bouncing from here to there, but always wanted to get home. I was on the phone with your mom, telling her where he was, what he was about. What was it like, I mean, growing up?
Sure.
He really wanted to live life to the fullest and do as much as possible. So he was always involved with family stuff, always involved with music stuff and community stuff. And he had a calendar that we kept in the den, and he would just keep adding stuff to each box for each day of the month. And he had a packed schedule, but he was just a guy who loved to do as much as possible, to be involved in as many things as possible. It just made him feel like he was making good use of his time and helping as many people as he could.
Now, the musical lineage in your family is remarkable. I'm a drummer, and so I still watch Jim Chapin, and I mean, what an incredible player he was, and his hand technique is just remarkable. But it was interesting because your dad picked up the trumpet first, even though, his father was a drummer. Have you guys taken up that musical lineage? Let's start with you, Josh.
I am very bad at about 4 different instruments. I forgot to practice, but yeah, I can. That's about it. I sing a little bit, but no, a little bit on guitar. I did pick up the trumpet, and that was tortured people with it during my school years. But no, I leave that to my sister and my cousins and stuff.
Okay, we're talking about Jen, of course. How about you, Jason?
I did the trumpet for a few years and tried to pick up the guitar several times. Haven't really been prolific at any instruments yet. I'm more of a music listener than a musician.
And Jono, why don't we bring you into this?
Well, I think Josh is shortchanging himself a little bit. He's got a great voice, and I'm sure if he applied himself, he could do a little bit more if he wanted to. However, for me, 5 different instruments, the elementary school years up to middle school, the recorder, the drums, piano, the flute, and well, there's another one in there somewhere, but I just didn't stick with it. Yeah. I sort of got a little too involved with sports, I think.
And let me ask you, in terms of the music, I mean, lots of us have remembrances. My dad died very young at 47, and he was in broadcasting, so I've got a lot of his recordings. What is it that you turn to from time to time when you want to reflect on your dad? I mean, obviously, there are lots of portraits of him. There are concerts.
Bill, you got me.
There's music that you can listen to. When you really want a taste of Harry and Dad again, what do you do to get that? Josh, why don't you help us with?
Well, I guess in that way, the YouTube rabbit hole you can go down is pretty incredible, especially with all the somebody's posted a bunch of the Johnny Carson appearances. So that's a pretty wild trip. I feel very lucky actually to have that documented for to take a little visit. And then he obviously was an amazing performer. So just to see him kind of go through his shtick with the band, and also, some of the lines he laid on the audience, and then just what a gifted performer he is really wonderful to take those visits. So a lot of bad things you could say about the internet these days, but those visits on YouTube are pretty great.
And Jason,
hey, Larry, we got a phone call coming in.
So many of his concerts, he was so remarkable in terms of the way that he did address his audience, and half of the concert was him updating you on his latest passions and work, and that was equally entertaining because he had an incredible gift in terms of conversation, eloquent in so many ways. What would you say, Jason?
About as crazy as it gets considering his schedule. He would do over 200 concerts a year, and about half of those were benefits. A lot of concerts he did solo. A lot of times he did concerts with other people he could convince to perform with him, everyone from James Taylor and Gordon Lightfoot to Pete Seeger. Did many shows with him as well as with his uncles and his band. And he would play for small audiences. He'd play anywhere for as many people as possible. I remember we were on a family trip in Germany, and he was playing at a lot of Air Force bases and military bases. And we had a minor car accident, and took about 4 or 5 hours to fix the car. And then we drove to where he was performing. He was about 3 hours late, and all his fans stayed and waited for him. And he did a great show, and he felt really indebted to them for sticking it out. And so he always felt like if they were showing up, he was going to give them his all, and he was very grateful to his fans and spent time with them after concerts, did anything he could to make sure that they enjoyed themselves. And I think that one thing that's not really appreciated as much today, but
I can hear you. I'm trying to get his attention.
He loved Woody Guthrie and what he stood for, and Pete Seeger, and it was all about connecting with people through music. But he also was really into storytelling, and he just did a masterful job at crafting a story and putting it to music and giving people more to appreciate when it came to music and people.
Hey, Larry, we've got a phone call coming in
too, who would like to enter into this conversation. Bill, can you get that caller to us?
Yep. Here we go. I think we have Len on the phone.
Len?
Yes, you do. How you guys doing today?
Good. Well, Len, thanks for calling.
Go ahead, Len.
It's a pleasure. I'm down here in Buenos Aires, Argentina.
Wow.
And I couldn't miss this day for anything. I had the pleasure of meeting Harry back in my college days.
Where did you go to college?
And this was actually my first college at Bergen Community in Paramus, New Jersey. And I'd like to say I was the early morning DJ at WBSB. But I happened to be doing an afternoon show that day, midday show. And I always opened my show with WOLD. And apparently Harry was on the Garden State Parkway or in the Paramus area. He picked up the signal, which is even more surprising, and he navigated his way to the campus, found the station, came in, and I'm told, because I was in the studio at the time, and we engineered our own shows. I mean, it was college radio, so I was in the studio. Harry walked in apparently and just said, "Hey, somebody owes me a royalty." And everybody's jaws just dropped. And next thing I knew, I'm in the studio, and our record librarian shows you how far back it goes, was tapping on the glass and mouthing Harry Chapin and pointing. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And, you know, I scribbled something on a piece of paper, and I held it up to Clace, and I'm like, I already played Harry Chapin. And she wrote back a note to me through the glass saying, "He's here."
What a story.
That's a great story.
Thank you, Larry.
So did you have any conversation with him on air or off air?
Exactly. I mean, the man was amazing. He was a great supporter of college radio. And I think especially stations that found airtime to play some of his songs. But he spent probably an hour and a half at the station. He did an interview with me.
Go ahead.
And, I mean, typical Harry. And we talked about what was then world hunger here. And I knew it was a problem, but I never thought I could do anything about it. And then I realized that I could. And I remember asking Harry, and it was the first time I ever heard it, and I heard it many times after. I said, "Do you really believe that there's a cure for world hunger? And how do you cure world hunger?" And he just cocked his head to the right side with that grin that only Harry could put on his face, and he just said, "One mouth at a time."
That's awesome. Bill, jump in.
And that was it. It stayed with me all my life. And Josh, I have a memory for you also. You were at a concert a few months after this, when you were very little, with your dad. Your grandfather, Jim, opened for Harry that night at Bergen Community College. And you did your shtick that night. And I don't think I've seen you since, but my girlfriend and I gave you a 5 or 6 foot yellow plastic Chiquita banana.
I remember that banana. It still may exist, actually. When we moved out of the home I grew up in Huntington, Long Island, I feel like that was in a bundle of sort of couch pillows and stuff that fans had given. And I feel like that banana stood the test of time for at least a few decades. I don't know.
Thank them and say goodbye.
You all should know that Josh's dance have elevated quite a bit since those early years.
Yeah. And I'm impressed that it lasted this long, Josh, because I bought it at a schlock shop in Times Square. So
did it like peel? It had like I think it could peel back. I think it was like a zip. It had like a zip.
Larry, if you can hear me, take it back.
Well, what a wonderful
Well, you know, Harry
Harris. That is wonderful.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
Harry just had an impact on so many people in so many ways.
Okay, Larry, take it back.
Oh, wonderful job. Thank you so much. And we're glad we're testing the technology, but we got a lot more than the technology tested. That was just a wonderful memory of Harry going into a college radio station. I don't know if Harry wore a watch. We got to ask the boys, because time didn't mean that much.
Bill, get ready to promote the phone.
He made his own clock, a 24-hour clock. Bill, we've got some numbers, speaking of phone numbers, that people do want to share their memories, and that will add so much to the day's activities. Why don't you explain exactly how they can talk to our guests, okay?
That's right. And we hearing those stories is just what really is going to make this all come together so well, because I think that's what it's all about. So it's real simple. Basically, go on to the Harry Chapin Foundation Facebook page and just type in the last 4 digits of your telephone number, just so we have a clue who's going to be calling in. And then we need you to dial this number, 646-558-8656. And then when we see that number come in, we'll know that it's you. And so we'll know how to introduce you. Now, you're going to also have to enter a code when you call that number. It's 716-793-376. I'm going to put all this up on the Facebook page as well, so you don't have to necessarily write it all down. But we'd love to hear more stories just like that one.
All right, Jono, how difficult, because every family, somebody's early, somebody's late. In your family, I've got to hear the dynamic of how you got to places you had to get to, with Harry being so distracted by so many incredible things that he was working on one time, together simultaneously. Help us understand what it was like getting your family to an event or an activity on time.
Well, it was sometimes like a whirlwind. Harry'd arrive, there'd be a movie that had just come out. On Long Island, you could get from the North Shore, where we lived, to the South Shore, or thereabouts, 30, 40-minute drive. Wasn't, depending on traffic, wasn't too unmanageable. So we'd head out to go to this movie, but we'd walk in, and one or two things might happen. Well, the movie's sold out, and then, Harry'd say, we only need a seat here or there because we're just going to be watching the movie. We don't need to be talking to each other. And inevitably, and we've even done this since, Josh, I, and my mom, only a year ago, and they found some seats for us. Now, granted, Larry, you might be coming in 10 minutes into the movie. So then we're waiting at the end of the movie for the first 10 minutes of the movie to start up and then walk out, just to kind of know what happened. So that's pretty much the way things rolled. And, you just had to kind of adapt.
3 minutes, Larry, 3 minutes.
That's just, you had to fit it all in somehow. That's kind of another motto.
And Josh, tell us, your mom, she, of course, has been without Harry for so many years now, kept up all of the incredible work that he started. And what's life like for your mom? And just give us a sense, because I know she's a little shy at times. Just tell us about how she's doing.
She's doing wonderfully. I can't keep up with her, so I don't know exactly how life is for her because she's always on the move. Usually running circles around me, but she has a full schedule and still makes. She lives up here in Westchester,
Larry, 2 minutes.
But
2 minutes.
she has an office in Huntington and always has grandkids in Brooklyn and up here in Westchester. So she's always doing this kind of triangle.
Wrap it up with one more question, Larry.
She's doing very well, and I don't you want to add to that, Chase?
Hey, Larry, if I could just insert that a year ago at 82 thereabouts, she was over in Vietnam and Cambodia for I think a stint of about maybe 10 days, 2 weeks, and she's just still a world traveler and has got abundant energy.
That's wonderful. And Jason, very quickly, the work of the foundation, what does it mean to all of you in this generation, the work that is now still being carried on in your dad's name?
Well, the whole purpose of the foundation is to help small organizations get to the next level, and we only give grants to them for a few years. We don't want them to be dependent on us, but grants all over the country to try to restore music programs, to help with community gardens, to help organizations that are really trying to address the critical needs. And we have a great board. We have so many members with so many different talents, and a lot of them are participating today in many ways. And it's family, it's friends, it's fans, and we get together and do everything we can, and we're just very grateful for the support we get from so many other people.
Well, we're so glad to be part of this today. I can't tell you, because this is a family, and I think those who understand his music understands how it brought us all together, and we were all special to each other, and I think special to your dad, and he made us feel that way. A lot of rock stars push us away. Your dad embraced us, and that was one of the true differences. Thank you so much for being with us today on this incredible event, and we've got to thank Mike. Give Mike a big thank you for trying.
Way to go, Mike. You're amazing.
Thank you. Amazing.
Yeah, Mike.
And Bill, Larry, great job.
Okay, guys, thank you. Bill, why don't you update us on some of the gifts that we have available today when people do call in?
That's right. We've got two packages, two main packages that we're offering, and both are $75. And in those packages, you're going to be able to get all kinds of different memorabilia that I think most fans are going to really treasure. And in the first package, we've got the Onwards and Upwards CD, which is really a great rare song compilation that has 8 performances that you're probably not going to hear anywhere else, including 2 songs that have never been released. And there's a limited edition poster in that, the Looking and Seeing poetry book, and a fan pack with a lot of other goodies in it. And then the other package, the tribute gift package, that also includes the fan pack with some awesome news clippings and the photo book, and then the tribute DVD and CD combined in one, and then the congressional replica of the Congressional Medal. So those are 2 of the packages. But if you go to betterplacetobe.org, you'll see a little button on there that you can click on, and that'll take you right to more information about it. And we hope to, and you'll also see a few other things that are available up there too.
Okay, betterplacetobe.org. That's the place to go. And a lot of the information that you're looking for is going to be there. We'll continue to let you know about it from time to time. We are going to go to Tom Chapin shortly here on this live event, Facebook Live. We're trying to use this new medium in a different way, in a way that Harry would say, go for it, guys. And we're having a little fun. I hope you're enjoying it. I hope you will call in. And we will be back to Tom Chapin shortly here in this Facebook Live event in honor of Harry Chapin's 75th birthday anniversary.